Thanks for joining us for another episode of Already Won, a Sports Friends podcast. Each week, Coach Ben and Coach Kyle share their insights, interview special guests, and offer some extra words of wisdom. The victory is ours because we've already won.
Hello and welcome to Already Won, a Sports Friends podcast. I'm here, as always, as your host, Ben Wildman, the Wildcat, and I'm here with my co-host, partner in crime, Kyle Epps.
I'm here. The Mad Dog is here. Fear the deer, baby. We got basketball today. Did you watch the Olympics are done now, but gold medal match?
Been watching it. Always enjoy watching a bit of basketball, especially in the Olympics. 3v3 tournament, and of course, watching Team USA. Some awesome stuff on there. But we're not talking about American basketball. There's a little bit of it today. But what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about basketball. We're talking about Irish basketball. I didn't know it was a thing, but apparently there's some great players, both men and women, who are either playing in the Irish professional leagues or come from that, you know. And one of the guests today, or both the guests, Eanna and Leah Rutherford, are great people. But Leah's dad, Jerome Westbrooks, is a legend in Irish basketball. Look him up. Go to YouTube. He is a legend, but as a player, as a coach, men's legendary. So we have his daughter in here, his only daughter, and her husband, Eanna.
And Eanna played Super League basketball in Ireland, and he's been coaching since the age of 15. Eanna's had some brilliant experience as a strength and conditioning coach over in America, University of Houston, and then Houston Rockets. And he's done some community work in Houston, Texas as well. And Leah, like you say, Kyle, it was a brilliant player herself. So she was an All-Ireland Schools champion between the years of 2001 and
Division 1.
Yeah, Division 1, which is really the highest level possible, right? She was national under 16s player of the year, 2004. She was played in the national team under 18. She was the captain of the under 20 national team. And like you said, went into play Division 1 at the NCAA for Mount St. Mary's University in Maryland. She was also the captain of a junior and senior year, so there's leadership in there as well. And then she's had brilliant experience as a women's national team player, and she was the National Cup champion in 2020 as well. Both of them have done some great work. She's done some community development work in Texas, and she currently works for the Peter McVerry Trust, which is a national homeless charity, working with men and women existing in prisons to manage traditional housing service. Wow, what an incredible lineup we've got today. Two incredible people, Mad Dog. Looking forward to diving into their marriage, their playing career, and their coaching career. And of course, asking them about the bigger game and about their faith in Christ, which means that they can say, like you and I, that we have already won. Should we get them in?
I see them there. Let's bring them in.
We have got, for the first time on the Already Won podcast, a married couple. Please welcome Eanna and Leah Rutherford. Welcome, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey. Welcome. So we've had two before, but it was an athlete, a former NFL guy, and his pastor. So we're gonna have to see who has the pastoral role in the family, because we know that someone talks and someone corrects them.
That should become at the end very quickly.
We're a super healthy relationship.
Okay.
Equals here.
Right. Well, we maybe change it to a married podcast. It could be a good thing. Great. Well, welcome. We'll start with rapid fire questions. Okay. So this is either or. The only right answer is whatever comes out of your mouth. And we don't want, if there's a dissension amongst you, then just, grin and bear it and then fight afterwards. All right.
Okay.
We're
so
good.
It's not competitive. It's just like.
Well, I mean, to me and Ben, it's always competitive, but yeah. All right. Here we go. Ready? McDonald's or Taco Bell?
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, yeah.
Wow. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Oh, my goodness. Ben. Mountains or beaches?
Beaches.
Doing well, except for that tea thing. LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Wow. This is, guys. Okay, last one. Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese?
Caitlin Clark.
Oh.
No!
Pausing. There's a hesitation. It's not unified. I don't believe that's true.
That's a post player. Also,
I don't like people heading them against each other. They're both doing amazing things for the sport. So
This is true. All right, we'll give you a benefit of the doubt, except for that tea and coffee thing. Ben, what do you think?
I loved it. I loved how in sync they were for most of the answers. That was brilliant. That's so good.
She was hitting me underneath.
No, that's fantastic. And I love the competitive nature already coming through in both of you as well, which I'm sure we can dig into a lot more. But our podcast is called Already Won. Let's start with Leah to start with. What does that phrase mean to you? And then Eanna, what does it mean to you? Already won.
Yeah, obviously it's a faith-based Christian podcast. So I'd say when I heard it, and I've listened to you guys in a few of your different episodes and stuff as well, and I'd be kind of on the same wavelength of, I know for myself and how I live or try to live my everyday. I kind of try to live it from that platform of I've already won, in a sense of like, I know who I am because who God says I am. Already won is like, I already know my identity. I'm not fighting for that. I already know my worth. I'm not fighting for that. I already know what God's called me to in this situation. So I don't have to necessarily fight that, but I'm kind of standing from that position and walking into different scenarios through that.
Yeah, I have a much less profound answer to that question. When I saw it, the first thing I thought of was like a big game, you know, like cup game or championship game. It's the fourth quarter. It's like a minute left and you're up like 20, where it's like, we really can't throw this one away. It's kind of in the bag. We can't fully celebrate yet because it hasn't happened, but we're kind of like bumping each other on the sidelines and we're like, this is about to happen, you know?
I like that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
We've not had that before, because that's like the now and not yet, right? We're living in that tension. Love it. We should be bumping each other.
Yeah.
Good. Well, tell us about your upbringings and how you both came to faith.
Yeah, so I was chatting earlier. I'm from an American household. So my mom and dad are from the States, but they moved to Ireland nearly 40 years ago. So my dad played college ball and then came to Ireland to play professional basketball over here. So I'm born and raised in Ireland. So I have dual citizenship. I'm Irish American, but if you ask anybody, I'm just Irish. Ireland is home. This is where I was born and raised. And yeah, grew up in a household with my mom and dad. I have 4 brothers. I'm the only girl. I actually loved that growing up. Just because like I was super tight with my mom, had really good girlfriends, and then like could muck around with my brothers. The only time though I can remember literally being like, God, like, why did you make me a girl? Was it didn't matter how much I practiced, didn't matter how much time I put in, I could never beat my brothers in basketball. And like, I genuinely would be so upset over it. But yeah, so grew up playing ball, grew up going to church with my family. I can remember I was 7 and we had been saving money. It was back when we were pounds, saving money in church. And I bought my first like children's Bible. And in the front, it talked about Jesus wanting to be your friend. And like, I can remember sitting in my room, reading that and having a pencil and like signing it, being like, Jesus, I want to be friends with you. And honestly, I feel like I've known the Lord my entire life. I think maybe in my teenage years in secondary school and stuff, it was more like, Lord, I want to know you as like my heavenly Father. Like, what does that look like? There's been ups and downs, different challenges, college, university and stuff like that. But yeah, he's just been the most consistent person. He's been really, really, really good to me. I tell people I'm LTD, living the dream. I feel like I've been kind of blessed beyond measure in many aspects of my life. And hopefully we'll chat a bit more about the different journeys and stuff that he's brought me on. But yeah, that's like my really short, trying to keep it sweet.
It's good. Ben's already writing down these one-liners. Living the dream, LTD. He's gonna have a T-shirt made by the end of the week.
That's the coaches in us, you know. We like good T-shirt phrases. Yeah, for me, very different background. I didn't grow up, I suppose, in a Christian home. Like, you went to Catholic school over here because really that was the only option, but it wasn't really a priority or important. You know, I think as a child, I might have had a kind of childlike belief that God's up there. If you do good things happen to you. If you do bad things happen to you. And I think I had quite a challenging youth and teenage years to where that kind of baseline childlike belief was really challenged, because I felt like there was a lot of tough and difficult things outside of my control happening. So it kind of pushed me further and further away from faith and from God. I think I had sport was very much my buffer throughout since I was 4 years old. I was part of a football team, into boxing, started basketball in my teenage years and just fell like fully in love with the game. And my coach was kind of like a father figure to me in that, and some of the other coaches I was involved with. But in terms of fate-wise, it just came to a point where I actually would have been a very adamant atheist, to the point where I would try essentially convert people to atheism. So very arrogant and aggressive in my position, reasonably well read on it. I enjoyed listening to debates with well-known atheists and things like that, and would be very dismissive of anyone's belief in anything, really. I suppose when it came to God or faith, I was indiscriminate in that sense. I suppose that didn't change until I met Leah at a basketball tournament. So one of my friends came and said, she's real religious, right? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't know that. So I better keep the atheism thing, in the back pocket, and not mention that. And it wasn't I believe in God with her, it was I know God, which I'd never encountered that before. And so it got me really curious. I started reading the Gospels, and it really kind of kickstarted me on my own journey to explore who Jesus was. What's all this about Jesus? And I remember just being so impressed with what he said, who he is, how he lived his life. And I think it kind of stopped there. And then we kind of had our turbulent times, our relationally ourselves, and we went our separate ways. And it was kind of in a really dark place that this journey kind of hit a key point for me. People talk about dimmer switches and light switches. It was this was a light switch moment for me where I really encountered Jesus, and he just asked me a question and transformed my life. And life has been, I can't even explain how different it's been since that.
Powerful. So good to hear. Well, and we've got to ask, as you're a married couple, tell us a little bit about how you do get married. I mean, for the listeners, you maybe don't know that Kyle proposed to his wife in Dublin for a pint of Guinness, right, Kyle? So do you want to tell us that briefly, and then we'll ask the guys how they did get married?
No, we were in Dublin, and I was ready to propose, so ordered a pint of Guinness for each of us, threw it through a ring my mother sent me in her thing, and I said, my wife asked, what was it? I said, well, you have to finish it to find out, and eventually she did, and I'm not sure she said yes because of the Guinness or because she loved me. I think it's because she loved me, and we're still together, so all works out.
I think you might be entitled to Irish citizenship for that.
Just that.
We'll talk to Oz Guinness about
I'd look into that if I was you. Funny, ours was actually in America. Aaron.
Well, tell them how we met.
Yeah, well, we met at a it was super
the basketball world in Ireland is I don't know if it's like that in the UK and England and stuff as well. It's super small. Everyone knows everyone, and we're in we're in our mid-20s, so at this stage everyone knows everyone kind of thing. And we were just at this, my brother was coaching his college team. I was in university over in Durham and home for Easter weekend kind of thing. And he's like, come watch me coach and it'll be a good weekend. And then you were on that team.
That's why I always, I love the phrases. So it was she came to support her brother and she left supporting me.
Oh, okay.
I apologize to all your listeners. You got to listen to those sort of cheesy phrases. But yeah, so we met at that tournament. I knew her family for years, and I hated them in a sports sense, not personally. They were our rival club and school, and they would always beat us. So, I knew her dad, I knew her brothers. So it was a really tense meeting. But anyway, we'll fast forward to the night of the engagement.
We ended up dating on and off for we met at that tournament, and then we did long distance. I was in uni in England, and we did long distance for the summer. And then I was and this is he's not following the board or anything. And I call him one day being God's told me to move to Houston, Texas. I'm going to take a job there. And he's like, cool. And that night he applied for internships in Houston, Texas.
I was going to Arizona, but yeah, I narrowed the search to Houston, very close, nearby.
So yeah, I moved in September. He moved in October.
But I surprised her. She knew I was coming eventually, but she didn't think I was coming as soon as I came. So I surprised her in a kind of outdoor mall spot in Houston. Anyway, fast forward, how many years? 4? 5?
4 years later, with a little breakup in between.
I proposed to her in that same spot as where I surprised her when I first came over to America.
Great. Well, tell us about your playing careers. Let's start with Leah. What was your playing career, your journey? How did you get it started? And got to the U.S., I guess. And
I'd say for as much as like the Lord has been part of my life, I have to give b-ball credit. Basketball has been an integral factor, the love of the game since. So obviously my dad coached and played. And so from the earliest age, I can remember like going to his basketball camps and just like following the coaches around. Or I think I was on the club under 12s team by the age of like 6 or 7 kind of thing. So I was just always playing. I played with the same club here in Ireland with Leicester since underage. We won a lot of things. I played in secondary school with Holy Faith in Clontarf, shout out. And we lost 1 game in 6 years. It was devastating.
She's been dying to say that. dying.
Listen, here's the fact. I'm a bit more decorated than Eanna, but when it comes to one-on-one, Eanna will beat me.
She's also been dying to say that too.
No, I've been dying to say that. Anyway, played ball, club, school, internationally, and then got a scholarship to go to the States. So I went to Mount St. Mary's University in Maryland and played for 4 years there. And then basketball again. Love it. It's been so good to me. I got chosen. I don't know if you've ever heard of Shooting Touch. It's like an international basketball nonprofit uses the sport of basketball to it's actually like health and education now, but for a tool for social change. So back when I did my sabbatical year with them, it was open to seniors across America, and they'd pick one and you'd get $25,000 to go anywhere in the world. And you just have to design a program to use basketball to like coach or teach or whatever. So I did it. And I went to South Africa and Zimbabwe and did a lot of like HIV and AIDS education. And they were brilliant because like they knew about my faith. They let me do Bible studies within the coaching clinics and stuff as well. And like that year was so formative. And then the reason why I went on to do my master's in community development and youth work, because of what I did in Africa and wanting a bit more theoretical grounding and whatnot. But yeah, so basketball has been huge. Like even I got a scholarship to do my master's in Durham through basketball. So I love the sport. It's been so good to me. Yeah,
and also part of a very elite cohort to come playing basketball in Ireland to make the Division 1 level in college. So she's been delicate with how big a deal that was for Ireland. My playing career is way less prestigious. I would have played football, was my main sport. Absolutely love football. Shout out to Man U. Sorry, Ben. But I absolutely loved it. But I kept getting in fights, always getting in fights, and ended up stepping away from it when I was like 13. Became friends with a really big basketball player who brought me to camps, and I had long hair at the time. I was kind of going through a bit of a rock phase, and one of the coaches came up, "You are a fantastic player," and obviously I just started playing. I was like, "Oh well, thank you so much." So that really inspired me to join the club and the school. I found out later, of course, that they actually thought I was a girl. So they were like, "Who's this girl beating up all the boys? She's brilliant." And, he kind of got stuck with me then. So, but I really fell in love with the game and worked really, really hard, I have to say. And I was actually able to make then our top league over here when I was 17. I didn't get a huge amount of playing time. I was always getting injured, which is what kind of led me into kind of focusing more on coaching as I started coaching and helping that particular coach out when I was about 15. I'd been playing the game a year and I already started coaching to kind of help him out and fell in love with that. Struggled with injuries. I really wanted to make it to America playing, but I just wasn't good enough and was getting injured quite frequently. And so that kind of pushed me to just play in college in Ireland and really focus on coaching, and that being my study and background area. So
love it. Well, let's dive into that a bit more, because obviously we train coaches to be part of local churches, so church-centered sports ministry. So They loved hearing about you playing backgrounds and stuff. Both played at a really high level, which is brilliant. But then coaching-wise, so let's start with Eanna, because you've obviously been coaching since 15, right? And then we'd love to hear from Leah, from your experience, particularly in Africa, when you mentioned about that before. So tell us about your coaching experience. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been absolutely privileged and blessed to work with some incredible coaches, like really special, innovative, great people. So I suppose the initial coach I worked under was the one I said was like a father figure to me. And I've yet to this day never seen a better basketball coach working with young kids. He is just like incredible how he inspires them and can encourage them, and he can make them see what they're capable of becoming. And it's just so inspiring. So that's the first person I'm learning to coach under. So really, really incredible experience. I think, as maybe is common, I don't know necessarily age and maturity. It was very much, though, for me, geared towards win. Things are great if you're winning, things are terrible if you're losing. And as a competitor, it's okay to want to win. I don't think that's an issue. But I think on reflection, particularly in those early days, actually the welfare and being really invested and interested in the players was secondary, I think, to me wanting to have the coaching accolades of winning. So in hindsight, I think that was an error. But I think that adjustment kind of came as I hit strength and conditioning, came under a really great coach at NADA, Martin Kennedy, who's currently working with Irish rugby athletes now. And I think when you're a strength and conditioning coach, you're kind of parallel to the sports coach, to where you're not as invested. You're invested in the winning, but because there's less technical, tactical kind of coaching, and it's much more geared towards their welfare, helping them physically prepare for their sport, it kind of took a different emphasis for me. And it really allowed me to develop building relationships with the athletes and getting to know them and figuring out ways to motivate them. Because depending on the sport, some of them don't want to touch a gym, or some of them are all about it. I had then the opportunity to get the internship in Houston, which is an incredible experience. Just the level of professionalism and the funding and the facilities, and it was just it's just a different world. And I wasn't there for a huge amount of time. I want to say just under a year before then I got a call from the Rockets inviting me in to work with them. So that was a dream come true for me. Aside from playing for an NBA team, the next best thing in my mind was to coach and work at one. So I got to work with those athletes. And I think one of the key learning moments as a coach for me with that was they're all people. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Everyone else adds all the external things, the pressure, the hype, the TV, the celebrity, all that. But it comes down to preparing athletes to play their sport, getting to know them, build relationships. It taught me to actually appreciate even the more what might be perceived as the more humble coaching experiences. It's been a special journey.
Brilliant. We're going to dive in a bit more to the Houston Rockets in a bit, so we'll come back to that one. But Leah, what about you? What was your coaching journey like?
Yeah, similar in a sense of like coaching from a young age, because my family would have been involved in basketball, and my dad coached, used to run basketball camps. So maybe from the age of 15, I was like coaching in those camps. And I think I look, just as Eanna was chatting, and I'm like looking back, and I was like, oh, those are such formative years in my coaching style. And I recognize, so always at the end of the week with camp, there'd be like award ceremonies and stuff. And at my dad's camps, you'd always have like MVP, you'd have defensive player award, and you'd have a coach's award. And my dad was really big on honoring the players. And so like if you were giving an award, it was expected that you'd like give like a speech, you know, and it's in front of the parents and it's in front of the other students and players and stuff. And as a coach, I used to be so nervous about this speech, but looking back, I'm like, oh, that was so good and so important, because especially not just like the MVP award, but more like maybe the coaches or Hustle award or different things, like you're getting to call out the gold in some of these players and young people that have never been honored like that before in front of their peers or in front of their parents. And it wasn't necessarily that they're going to go on and be superstar basketball players. Do you know what I mean? It was more about, encouraging and building up these young people in where they were. And then in uni in the States, part of, being on the college team is we'd go and do like camps, and people would come to our camps. And so lots of experience, but probably my biggest, like, I'm out there, I'm leading the troops, was when I went to Africa and doing the Shooting Touch sabbatical program. So I would have spent about 5 months in Cape Town, South Africa, and then 6 months in Bulawayo, kind of outside in a rural village in Zimbabwe. And so there it was literally, especially in my time in Zimbabwe, like there was no courts. There was like, some people hadn't heard of basketball or seen a basketball. So you're bringing in all the kit. We built 2 basketball courts while we were there, and then trained up 12 different young people in coaching and whatnot. And that was such a special time, from like the technical side of stuff, but more so from like, how do I invest in these young people to help them invest in the youth in the community and whatnot. And so like I love sport because it is such a barrier breaker. Like no one really knew English, especially when I lived in Zim. I really didn't speak Ndebele. Like I picked some up over time, but you have a ball and a hoop, and it just broke down so many barriers and built so many relationships. And it was it's just amazing to see how basketball can be used as a tool to encourage to break barriers, to build hope, all these different things. So I look like, still, like, we, in different aspects, we're still coaching. Even in my work, and I work in homeless services now, like, and I lead a team. Like, there's stuff that I'm bringing from my basketball coaching days into my work environment, for sure.
So as you reflect and as these memories come up, and I mean, you're living with them, obviously, your playing days, and now your coaching days, and just the experiences you've had, what do you think makes a good coach, and why?
Because I've had a few coaches, and some of them not great,
Or a bad coach, and why?
Yeah, and so I don't know. A coach would be like who you believe. Do you know what I mean? Like, who is chatting to you, saying these things, different things, and you're like, oh, they believe in me, and I believe them that they believe in me. Kind of like that investment piece, isn't it? I'm a big advocate for like being present in that moment, in that training session, in that like you're Mr. Strength and Conditioning, and like getting people to the next. It's for me, it's not necessarily about being the best basketball player going, but actually, how can I support this young person as a coach who's right in front of me, and how can I hopefully help them be more skilled, but also be a better person? Maybe is that what makes a good coach? Yeah, help them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like some of these things are cliches, Ben
loves a good cliche, by the way. So
put it on a t-shirt. You have to care about people.
Yeah.
You have to be interested and invested in them. And like, it's great to know the tactical knowledge of the sport, and that's important. And by all means, continue to grow that. But if you have the passion to see young people or athletes thrive and do well, it's going to motivate you in those areas as well, to do your best, to give them the best info you can, and to coach them in the best way you can. But you know what? Sometimes that can be difficult. It's tiring. It takes commitment.
Mm-hmm.
A player isn't responding well to you, or how you coach, or anything like that. But being able to fundamentally go down to what's in this person's best interest, and how can I get through to them, connect with them, build a relationship with them, I think is key.
That's massive. And you're not the first person on the podcast to say that. We just had, an NFL player came on and said the reason why his coach were the best, it wasn't the X's and O's, It was about that care and about that genuine care. And I've got a phrase. I think genuine care is not there in the world that we're in these days. Sorry, Kyle, I'm going to give it. I don't think genuine care is not there a lot of the time. So that what you said in it, I think resonates a lot with me, and I certainly think other coaches as well. But I've got to ask about Houston Rockets. Okay, so that would have been an amazing dream. In between, working on Chase and Leah and getting engaged and stuff like that. Tell us about your internship and stuff. Give us a little look in behind the curtain. You were in a professional environment.
Yeah.
What things did you pick up from other coaches potentially, or from that being in that environment? What was it like? What did you learn from it?
How much time do you have?
Time. That was a big one.
It's a big commitment, particularly for strength and conditioning coaches in the NBA, because you have your preseason, your season, but then as you hit kind of playoffs, especially if you're a team that's going to make the playoffs, you have draft guys coming in for workouts. So, and then when it comes to the summer, there was times where I was sent on holidays with some of the players, so they would still be working out while they're on their holidays. So it just, that thing just keeps ticking and moving, and it's a constant commitment. Like, there are practical things like the resources that you're exposed at that are available when you're in the likes of the NBA, because you have all the sports development and sports performance companies who want an NBA team to be using their products to get on board. So you're just getting free stuff all the time. These guys can afford all this stuff, you know what I mean? And they're just being given it for free. I think I may have mentioned this briefly already, but it really comes down to basics at the end of the day. Like, even where you're not highly resourced or anything like that, like the meat and potatoes of your strength and conditioning program is not like wildly different from what other coaches would do. There you might have more things at your disposal that kind of work around that 1 to 5% difference, but in general it comes down to basics. It comes down to, can you motivate guys to challenge themselves? Can you inspire them to want better? And so that was one, I think, key point for me was, these are exceptional athletes.
Like, Eanna's chill and not really starstruck or anything, but tell them about
who are you working with? Was it Yao
Drop
Ming?
some names. Yep, drop some names.
Yeah.
Or when you first met,
there was 2 times. The first time was I was brought in by my boss at the time, Joseph Rogowski, great guy. And he brought me into the locker room, and then I just turned to my left, and Dwight Howard's just sitting right there.
Dwight's
and he is a tank of a human. You know what I mean? He is just so strong, and a really charismatic, chatty, fun kind of guy. And so I was just kind of like, wow, I've never this close to an NBA player. So, and then Rogo, the boss, what are you looking at? And I was like, oh, that's why Aaron is so, he's just a regular guy. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then in fairness, I wasn't really starstruck after that until I met Kobe Bryant. And then, he was a personal sports hero of mine. So that I was just kind of on the court, and I was warming the guys up, and I'm supposed to be stretching them, and I'm just kind of staring at Kobe. That's Kobe. And they're like, the players are like, yeah, we're playing against him. Would you ever bloody stretch us? So those were the starstruck moments.
One time, so sometimes anyone would get tickets for the games or whatever, and one time he's like, oh, I got tickets for the Lakers game tonight, Leah. It's Kobe's 3rd last game. I was like, I'm there. Anyway, he didn't tell me. It was they were never courtside. This was courtside. And so I'm literally right behind the Rockets bench and by the court, and I'm right there, and Kobe, it was a sideline ball, and Kobe's, and I'm like, Leah, you have to be so professional, you're his girlfriend. I'm trying to touch Kobe's shorts.
I was too, so I couldn't really give out about it. I remember one time I'm just in the weight room, and there's a Kardashian in there, just working out in our gym, and it was just. Yeah, I just felt I'm from a small town in Dublin, You know what I mean? And here I am around all these celebs, but you just you do just realize these are just ordinary people that want the same things a lot of the time we do. They want to be loved and respected and cared for, and they want you to see past their kind of celeb status and things like that. In terms of the environment, you're around exceptional coaches like my boss Joseph Rogowski and then Javar Gillette, just incredible and in very different ways, but fantastic strength and conditioning coaches. Head coach at the time was Kevin McHale, who was Hall of Fame basketball player, incredible guy. He definitely is on the more Irish branch of deprecating humor, which I don't know that the players always responded very well to, especially when he was like, I mean, I could beat you up, or I could score on you on the block. I'm like, yeah, you're starting big. Maybe you want to kind of encourage him a little bit more. So, but he is an incredible guy, incredible storyteller. We had a great first year. We went to the Western Conference Finals. We lost to Golden State Warriors, who kind of went on a bit of a dynasty run after that. So it was just a whirlwind experience. It was a wonderful time. I got to meet some great coaches. Like a lot of it was like there wasn't a lot of drills or anything like that were like, wow, what an amazing drill. They probably did a lot more end of game or niche kind of gameplay situations, a lot of game scenarios, but the drills, like as a basketball player, you've seen them all, the shooting drills, all that. It's nothing groundbreaking. It was just a repetition of some of those fundamentals and basics. We'd start off every session with shot technique, ball handling drills, and then they'd go into some more team-based drills. So like nothing groundbreaking in that sense, but it was just the consistency and the repetition and the work the players would put in individually to make sure that they were on their game. One thing I really learned a lot from James Harden, which I really appreciated, was he would challenge players who were trying to learn 500 different things. And he was like, why? You only need to be good at like 3 to 4 things. And funny, like he's an incredibly talented player. But if you look at actually the moves in his toolbox, he doesn't have that many. Step back 3. Yeah, like a step back 3, a crossover, and then floater in the paint. And, he's just incredible at them. And he would work on those things like the whole time. It'd be difficult to get him in the gym sometimes, but he would always be working on his basketball game. So I got to give him props. And that was a good learning moment for me to don't become too spread, focus on bring your goals a little narrower and more concise.
Well, I know Ben wants to ask a question about Money Pot, but that's only Ben. He believes this game is universal.
Have you heard of that game? That's all we're asking. Have you heard of Money Pot? If not, we're not going to say anything else. That's fine.
I don't know.
Is it Money in the Bank or
Oh no, Ben.
They know it.
It's like horse. We were playing horse. He said, "Oh, this is like Money Pot." I said, "Show me." He's like, "This." I said, "This is not like horse. This is terrible. There's no movement, no structure." Anyways,
so you shoot 1 in the pot. The next one shoots. If they score 2 in the pot, if they miss, then you lose 2 lives.
Much math.
Yes, okay. Yes, I do know.
Yeah, don't just stop right there. Don't.
In fairness, with the Rockets, we do a kind of similar game. So
no.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Horse.
Here we go.
It wasn't called Money Pot, first of all. And at the end of the month, they would all shoot
to get the money
for the money.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cool. I can accept that. That one I like. I don't. Ben's no.
I think these guys. I mean, if we're gonna, they played Money in the Pot. Was it, Leah? That's what you called it, or Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. That's I'm gonna imagine propelled them into there.
Kyle, did you lose some money off Ben? That's what is
never lost to Ben. Just tell you.
I'm trying to take this game everywhere.
He's a good basketball player, so
not great.
So from both your working and ministry experiences and your backgrounds, can you share with our coaches, our leaders, anyone listening, any sort of tips or tools you have how to best mentor young people?
I would say operate out of the overflow. That would be for the big one for me.
T-shirt.
And listen, I think it can be so easy, especially maybe in these like leadership positions and coaching positions where you're obviously gifted and talented, and it might look the same, but actually that's where you have burnout or different things. Like we need to, especially as Christ followers and lovers of Jesus, like first and foremost, we need to be relying on the Holy Spirit. We need to be going to our Heavenly Father, and from what He's given us, giving that to those around us. And it just, it's not sustainable. It's not eternal. Like be operating out of the overflow. The rest comes.
Well, you've given us some good stuff. I mean, the thing you said about genuine care and the basics, your insight you shared around like Houston Rockets and all your coaching and playing journey as well. I think you give us a lot of tips as we went throughout the whole thing as well. And, I know Carl likes to take the mick out of us because I like these, tweetable things. But I think Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain something simply enough, then you can't explain it at all. And I think as a coach, if you've got a limited window to pass things on to kids and stuff, and, how can you simplify wisdom in these things and operate out the overflow is a great way to finish it as well. And we pray for you guys that in your marriage, you'll continue to operate out the overflow as you, look after your 2 kids, that you continue to do that, and in both your jobs and roles as well. And I love particularly what you said, Leah, about you still use your coaching experience in your job and role. And that's part of our vision ethos that we do with Sports Friends, is that we train coaches, and whatever they do to go on to, whether they get married or get jobs or go to university, whatever they do, we've had coaches that have went into loads of different places and have used the foundation of what they're doing, or the young people that they've coached and mentored, the impact that they've been had by a coach, Christian coach, they've then been wanting to go and do some stuff as well. So what you shared is brilliant, and we enjoyed the humor and the crack as well. That was always good. Money pot all the way. Keep taking it to Dublin and beyond.
And Kyle, get on to the embassy there. I'm telling you, it's there. It's waiting for you.
Will do. Appreciate you guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Money pot, Ben. You heard it. It's not what you're thinking. It's not your money pot.
Money in the bank. All I heard was Houston Rockets play a version of Money Pot. That's what I heard. That's
high stakes gambling was that it was.
My version's better. No, Mad Dog, how good is the Irish crack, by the way? Just like how good was that? Having a married couple on, that was great to see. Like first married couple on. We need to get more married couples on, I think, because great insight, and loved how they just fed off each other, and were synced up from the beginning, and then shared around. I loved how Leah had a massive impact on Eanna, come to faith. Like literally, I mean, I call it flirt to convert, but I mean, what an amazing example that is, and
missionary dating.
There we go. And then they're playing careers, right? Hearing about that, both very humble in what they said. Actually, if you look at their playing career, very humble how they spoke, but then also about how their faith impacted it and how coaching has been that as well. What was it like for you in that episode?
Living the dream, triple threat, right? They love each other, they love basketball, and they love the Lord. So, boom, right there, triple threat.
There it is. I love that. LTD, living the dream. Well, Mad Dog, I love the insights, particularly around the Houston Rockets, because we always wonder what goes on. I watch the documentaries, I watch Amazon All or Nothings. I'm watching this stuff to find out this stuff, to glean from it. And Eanna really said, there's nothing really new or surprising. The drills, but it's about the care. It's about being like a father figure, and it's about the basics. Now, Wildman's Weekly Word, you ready for it? The best never get bored with the basics. The best never get bored with the basics. And, hearing James Harden say, get good at I hope that's a beard trimmer that you drop in.
Mic drop.
There you go. And around that, James Harden, the beard man, doing the basics, do one or two things really well. And I've heard that in professional academies in football where I coach, they say the best players will do the basics effortlessly as if they're doing it, like that. So I love that. Great insight around that. Some great stuff. What about Sports Friends wise then? What are we linking it to?
Let's see if we can get a video up, a proper video. Let's go. Let's have it up. Boom.
Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down a court. I keep it so fresh on the microphone. I like no interruption when the game is on. I like slam dunks that take me to the hoop. My favorite play is the alley-oop. I like the pick and roll, like the give and go. And it's basketball. Bow wow, let's go.
Good stuff. Always good to have Sports Friends staff, coaches kind of share their words. Good stuff, man.
Great stuff. Love seeing that. Remember, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch more videos just like that.
Plenty more.
Friends_INTL. Now, Mad Dog, I know we normally say to finish up, but I think we've got to tell your friends and your friends' friends and your parents about Money Pot, right? No.
Ben, you're hopeless. Please write to Ben personally, ben.wildman@sim.org. Tell him Money Pot is not a real thing. Only the Newcastle Eagles, what was it called? The Dragons?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, the Dragon Eagles. Tell them we've already won. There's no need for Money Pot.
Thanks again for joining us on Already Won, a Sports Friends podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe on your favorite